Hey guys, Sandy here, and welcome back to Follow a Sketch February. Today I have pulled this Chamel sketch off of my Pinterest board for Follow a Sketch February. The link will be down below if you're interested in seeing the sketches I'm considering, and the sketch of the day that I actually use is down there below. So I have this Chamel sketch, and then I also have 3 glitter glazes from Brutus Monroe. I have Periwinkle, Denim, and Morning Glory. So let's see what I can do. Now the first thing I did was take this stencil, and this is a dilution stencil, and I just used some purple tape to hold it down to some white cardstock. So I have this glitter glaze right here, and I believe this is the Periwinkle one that I am starting with. And I just grabbed a generous amount on my palette knife, and I'm spreading it around the top third of my stencil, and I'm just making sure that I'm getting good coverage here. I added a little bit more just because I wanted my glitter glaze to be a little bit thicker. So now what I'm going to do is, to make sure I don't cross-contaminate that glitter glaze, I'm going to put the lid on it and wipe off my palette knife with a napkin. I should have used a paper towel or something, but I had a napkin there, so I did. Now I am mixing this up a little bit, just wanting to make sure that all my sparklies and things are a good mix of color here. And as you can see, I'm not really touching the other glitter paste until I figure, yeah, I've got enough on here, I can start mixing. So I take this glitter glaze and I move it up into the top. So you can see where I have some of this shade of blue just on its own, and then you can also tell where I've mixed it in with my first shade of blue. Now these colors do have very subtle differences, you guys. There have been times where I have mixed colors with much larger differences, and you'll actually see that in the photos. But yeah. And then this is the denim one. And as you can see, this one is definitely a different shade than the other ones. It has, I would say, less shimmer to it, less sparkle. And I'm doing the same thing here. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. I kind of contaminated that glitter glaze because I didn't wipe it off first. I just put it back in the jar, but I wasn't too concerned. That tiny little bit of sparkle, I wasn't thinking was going to like mess it up at all. So now I have pulled that off, and I let that bad boy dry up super nice. I let it sit, and then I also trimmed down the white cardstock, and I placed it on top of this pink solid cardstock, just so that it has this border around it. And I decided that I wanted to have the light color at the top all the way down to the darkest. And as you can see, I am scrapbooking with glitter glaze about glitter glaze. It's like glitter glaze inception over here. So this photo where I have the pink into the green into the blue is where I used 3 completely different colors and kind of did the same thing that I did here with these arrows. And I gotta say, love it. Now this kind of grid paper with a pop is from the Neon Glow 6x6 papers from Brutus Monroe as well. I have got to tell you guys, like, Brutus Monroe is one of my favorite companies. They just have great, fantastic stuff. It's unique. The properties of it are amazing. Like the glitter glaze, it makes me happy. It just makes me happy. Let's just say that. It just makes me happy. So I am adhering these 2 photos together. Now my sketch that I have, the Chamel sketch that I'm using, has 1 photo, but I'm going to mix it up and do 2. So I've got those there. And this is an empty container of glitter glaze and a project that I worked on. And I'm totally okay with documenting my love of glitter glaze. So I pull out these thickers. This says Sparkle, and this came in one of the Chamel thickers. I'm not exactly sure which one. And then this set of thickers, I believe, was for a Jen Hadfield collection. so I pull off adventure. I am a little bit more careful with adventure so I don't rip it in half like I did the poor sparkle word, but it's okay. It's a foam thicker. It's just going to go back together really nicely all on its own. Well, I mean, not like all on its own magical, like I'm going to have to stick it together. So I'm going to put the word sparkle over top of my photo, and then the word adventure as well. That's going to go over top of the second photo. So the title is Sparkle Adventure, and really that's what it is. Glitter glaze is definitely a sparkly adventure. And I do have to say Stickles was my gateway into all things glitter paste, glitter glaze, whatever it is. Like Stickles was my gateway, and I'm totally okay with that. Now I am on a kick of outlining, so I do take my black Muji pen and outline the white cardstock there. Now I'm pulling out these other thickers that have white arrows. I was thinking about inking these bad boys up, but I kind of like the white on white going on here, so I don't do it. I don't ink up the arrows. I kind of leave them like they are. Now this little curvy arrow is not going to stay there. It ends up going up at the top. I really wanted to use this arrow, but I wasn't sure how to put it on the page without it kind of looking awkward. So that went right back into the thickers holder as well. So I do pull out this little arrow and I'm like, yeah, something's going to happen over here. Now, you guys, I have a ton of thickers, all kinds. Letter thickers, phrase thickers, you know, all the good stuff. And I love using them. I think that they are probably one of my favorite embellishments right now. That's not to say that might not change in a week or even tomorrow. I might decide something else is my favorite embellishment to use, but that is what is going on now. And I'm really on a mission to use my things. So it's going to be like important to me to use my stuff. It's just important. I went through a little mini purge after I got back from Creativation and the shopping that I did at the Tuesday mornings there, and I ended up giving away 2 like priority mailboxes, flat rates, and they're like all ready to go. I just actually have to mail them now. So ladies, if you are listening or watching, they are going out this week, promise. So that is going on. And now I have like the stuff that I love still, and I'm using still. It's weird because you buy stuff because you love it, but then you either buy too much or it's just so much. Like I don't know why I did, but I bought like 3 or 4 of the same paper pack, not realizing that I had actually done that. So, you know, things like that happen. But my biggest suggestion is to like get into your area, look at your stuff, flip through your things to know what you have. Paper is a little bit harder for me to remember everything I have, just because there is a lot of paper, a lot less paper than I used to have, just as in general, it's a lot less paper than I used to have, just because I've used it up. I also purged a lot, but now I'm totally starting to talk about other things besides the layout. So these are some rhinestones from Kaisercraft, and I just made a little notation of where I needed to trim it down so that I could tuck it up here at the top. So instead of like the sketch where it's just this one little thing, I decided to build up something down here and just really like liven up this little top bit right here. So we have that going on. It's going to take me a minute because I twisted the thing around and then I just end up ripping it apart and putting it back down, and it all works out pretty well. Now I definitely know I want to use this other piece of it, this other rhinestone piece. So it's going to be a moment for me to figure out where exactly I can put it on without having an awkward gap. And that does take a moment, but I do end up figuring it out. And I first thought it was going to go there, but then I thought it really looked it looked like it was something that went all the way underneath this photo, and I didn't want that. I didn't want it to look like it was something that went all the way underneath the photo. I wanted it to seem like there were two different, completely different areas where this rhinestone thingy was going to go. So I do add a little bit of Nouveau Deluxe adhesive just because it needs it on this page. The stuff does not like want to stick to the glitter all the time. So you just need to add a little bit more. Now I discovered this little black and white bow would be perfect. It fills in the gap between these two little spaces really well, and you don't really have to worry about not being able to see rhinestones behind it, which is completely perfect. Now I do go ahead and grab some foam squares and put them on the back of this bow, just so that the bow isn't leaning down off of the photograph, down like to the paper. I didn't want the tilt. Sometimes the tilt is fine when you have an embellishment or a sticker or something going over multiple layers, and sometimes you really just don't want the tilt. Now I do add a little bit of adhesive over here as well on this photograph, just because it seemed to be popping up a lot and I really wanted it to stay stuck down. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this might be it. Like this might be it. I'm like, okay, I like what's going on here. I don't really have a place for journaling, but this layout really needs journaling. Like, you need to understand what the point of this layout is. If you were a scrapbooker or a crafter, you might look at this and be like, yeah, like you get it, but some people are not. So I just kind of rub my fingers over where I think the journaling is going to go. And then I'm thinking about it a little bit more and looking at it and trying to determine, is this really where I want the journaling to go? And it is. So I wax poetic about my love of glitter glaze for a little bit and how I love the sparkle and I love the shimmering, and it's just a grand old time for me. And then after I do that, I do believe that is going to wrap up this layout. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for joining me every day this month for Follow a Sketch February 2020. It is the kickoff of Follow a Sketch Friday. So those will be on the regular every Friday after February is over. And thanks so much, guys. I'll see you soon.